There was a time I needed to hold on to the armrest just to stand up from my chair. My legs shook. My knees burned. And I started to believe what people said, it's just age. But deep down, something felt off. I didn't want to live the rest of my life like this. Then, I stumbled across something so simple. I almost didn't try it. But I did. And what happened next changed everything, not just for my legs, but for my entire life. Part 1, the morning I couldn't get up without help. It was an ordinary morning. The kind where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. I was sitting in my favorite chair, the one by the window, with a warm cup of tea in my hands. I reached to place it down on the side table and leaned forward to stand. And nothing happened. My knees didn't respond. My thighs felt like jelly. My body wobbled, and I quickly grabbed the armrest to steady myself. I tried again. This time, I pushed harder, only to feel a sharp stab behind my right knee. My balance gave way, and I collapsed back into the chair. For the first time, I had to call out for help. My wife came in, and I'll never forget the look on her face. Worried, helpless, and quietly frightened. I laughed it off, said maybe I just slept wrong, but we both knew that wasn't true. Something deeper was going on. And I wasn't ready to accept that I had lost control of my own body. Part 2, I used to be strong, so what went wrong? Just a decade ago, I was gardening. Climbing stairs. Even dancing at my granddaughter's wedding. I wasn't an athlete, but I was capable. And proud of it. Now, I avoided outings that involved walking. I dreaded bathtubs and low sofas. I declined invitations, not because I didn't want to go, but because I wasn't sure I could keep up. The doctors gave me creams. They gave me pills. They told me to take it easy. But no one ever told me why this was happening. And somewhere between the medical jargon and well-meaning advice, I realized no one was coming to save me. I had to figure this out myself. So I started asking questions. About my legs. My muscles. My strength. And what it truly means to grow old without breaking down. Part 3, the late-night search that changed everything. That night, I sat in the dark with my laptop open. I searched. Why can't I stand without help? Leg weakness after 70. Natural ways to regain strength. Article after article told me the same thing. Muscle loss is not just about age, it's about use. And worse, inflammation. Silent, constant inflammation that creeps in through poor circulation, poor diet, and a lack of key nutrients. Then I found something different. A simple 3-minute routine designed for seniors. No equipment. No fancy moves. Just slow, focused movements to reawaken the legs. I saved the video. Took a deep breath. And told myself. Tomorrow, I start. Part 4, the first time I tried the routine. The next morning, I moved the coffee table out of the way. Laid down a towel on the living room floor. And opened the video I had saved the night before. It began with simple instructions. Stand tall. Feet shoulder width apart. Bend your knees slightly. Take a breath. Shift your weight forward. And now, slowly sit back into an invisible chair. A chair? At 76, my legs already felt like they couldn't hold me up when I did have a chair. But I listened. My knees trembled. My thighs burned. But somehow, I managed 5 reps. 5. Not 50. Not 20. Just 5 shallow, careful squats. And I was exhausted. I collapsed back into my chair, breathing heavily. My legs felt like they'd been lit on fire. But I'll tell you this, I didn't feel broken. I felt awake. Like a part of my body that had been sleeping for years was trying to open its eyes again. Part 5, Day 3, painful, but different. On the 3rd day, something changed. The pain didn't go away. But it shifted. It wasn't the deep, throbbing ache I was used to. This was a different kind of soreness, the kind that comes after use, not degeneration. I recognized it from decades ago, back when I used to chop wood at our old house in the hills. That dull, stretched feeling that says, "You did something today." And it mattered. I kept going. 5 squats became 7. Then 10. I added heel raises. I added side steps while holding onto the back of a chair. I walked around the room for 3 minutes, knees high, arms swinging, eyes forward. It wasn't elegant. But it was effort. And effort leads to progress. Part 6, 1 week later, the first surprise. It was a Sunday morning. Exactly 1 week since I had started the routine. I stood up from my chair to get my slippers, and realized something had happened. I didn't use my hands. No armrest. No wife standing nearby. No grunting or rocking back and forth. I just stood. It was so natural that I didn't even notice at first. And then it hit me. I stood without support. I almost sat back down just to do it again. I walked to the kitchen. Felt a spring in my step. My knees didn't creak. My ankles didn't swell. Something inside me stirred, a feeling I hadn't had in years. Hope. Not just that I was improving, but that maybe, just maybe, I could reverse more than I thought. Part 7, I thought it was just weakness, but it was inflammation. A few days into my new routine, I started noticing patterns. I had more energy in the morning. Less swelling in my ankles. And less stiffness after sitting down. But by evening, it all came back. The burning in my knees. The fatigue. The heavy, tight feeling in my joints. That's when I came across an article titled, "Why Inflammation Mimics Aging." I read every word. Inflammation, it explained, isn't just a short-term immune response. Chronic inflammation, the kind that brews for years without symptoms, can mimic muscle loss, joint stiffness, even brain fog. It slows blood flow. Damages tissue. Prevents your body from healing. And worst of all, it's triggered by the foods we eat every day. Sugar. Processed oils. Refined carbs. And in my case, even my so-called healthy morning cereal. It wasn't just age. It was what I was feeding the inflammation. And that was something I could change. Part 8, the diet change that multiplied my progress. I didn't go on a strict diet. At 76, I wasn't interested in counting calories or fasting for hours. But I made one powerful decision. Remove the foods fueling my inflammation. I replaced cereal with oats soaked overnight in almond milk and turmeric. Swapped toast with avocado and olive oil on a slice of sweet potato. Added berries. Walnuts. Ginger tea. And I cut out packaged snacks, even the low-fat ones. Within a week, my legs felt lighter. My fingers stopped swelling in the morning. My afternoon crashes disappeared. I even slept through the night without waking to adjust my legs. The change wasn't subtle. It was dramatic. Not because I was doing more, but because my body was no longer fighting against me. Every squat became easier. Every walk, longer. I didn't just feel less pain, I felt stronger. Part 9, my doctor's reaction and what she confirmed. At my next checkup, I walked into the clinic without my cane. My doctor raised her eyebrows. "What have you been doing?" she asked. I told her everything, the movement routine, the food swaps, the turmeric and ginger, the walks. She nodded slowly. "Most people your age think decline is inevitable," she said. "But it's often just ignored inflammation. You changed that." My blood pressure had dropped. My cholesterol was steady. And for the first time in 5 years, my inflammatory markers were within normal range. I wasn't just feeling better, I was getting better. And the best part? I did it without prescriptions or procedures. I did it with movement, food, and consistency. Part 10, I hadn't felt this energized in years. It started with small things. I noticed I didn't need my mid-afternoon nap anymore. I began waking up before my alarm, ready to move. I felt like walking, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. One afternoon, I cleaned out the entire garage. My wife stood in the doorway, surprised. "You haven't touched that shelf in years," she said, smiling. It wasn't just about having more energy. It was about having momentum. I didn't dread the day ahead anymore. There was a spark, like someone had flipped a switch inside me. And for the first time in a long time, I stopped feeling like an old man who was managing his condition. I felt like me again. Part 11, my balance, my mood, and my outlook changed. One morning, I was brushing my teeth and realized I was standing on one foot without thinking. I laughed out loud. Balance, something I used to work so hard to maintain, had simply returned. And with it came confidence. I walked with my head higher. I stopped scanning the floor for trip hazards. I felt stable, in control, grounded. But it wasn't just my body that changed. My mood lifted, too. That cloud of irritability and sluggishness began to lift. I was more patient with my grandkids. More playful. More present. Inflammation doesn't just weigh down your joints. It weighs down your mind. And when that burden began to lift, my world opened back up. Part 12, I looked in the mirror and saw someone new. It was about 3 months in when I truly saw it. I had just finished a short walk, and I passed by the hallway mirror. I stopped. My posture was taller. My face was clearer. The bags under my eyes had faded. And I was smiling, without even realizing it. I touched my legs. They felt firm. My thighs had definition again. My calves had strength. I turned to my wife and said, "I feel younger." She looked at me and nodded. "You look younger, too. There's no pill for this. No prescription can give you this feeling." This was earned. It was a new kind of pride, not the loud, showy kind. The quiet kind that comes from taking your life back, one small step at a time. Part 13, the day I danced with my granddaughter. It was my granddaughter's 16th birthday. She had begged me to come to her party. Not just to attend, but to dance. I told her, "Sweetheart, I might only manage a step or two." She laughed and said, "That's all I need, Grandpa." The music started. She reached out her hand. And I stood, without support, without pain, and took it. I didn't just sway back and forth like I used to. I moved. I spun her around. I matched her rhythm for a whole minute and a half. When the song ended, she hugged me tight and whispered, "I missed this version of you." I held back tears. Because I had missed me too. Part 14, how my wife saw the change before I did. For years, my wife had watched me slowly retreat. She never complained, never pressured. But I could see it in her eyes, the sadness, the concern, the quiet grieving of what we were losing. After I began my transformation, something shifted between us. We walked together again. Sat outside in the mornings with our tea. Had real conversations, not just about doctor visits and medications, but about books, memories, dreams. She said, "You're laughing again. Do you realize that?" And she was right. When pain dominates your day, joy becomes a memory. But when that pain lifts, even just a little, life comes flooding back in. It wasn't just my body healing. It was us, too. Part 15, what I wish every older adult knew. If I could speak to every person who feels like I did, that they're losing their strength, their independence, their identity, I'd say this. You are not broken. You are not weak. And you are not destined to fall apart just because of a number on your birth certificate. There's always something you can do. Always a change you can make. And often, it doesn't require expensive treatments or complicated plans. Start with movement. Start with your plate. Start with something small, but start. Because the hardest part isn't the pain. It's believing it can't get better. I'm 76 now. And I'm standing, tall, strong, hopeful. If I can do it, so can you. Part 16. What strength really means at this age. There was a time when I thought strength meant lifting heavy things, walking fast, or powering through pain. But after this journey, I see it differently. Strength is being able to get up without fear. It's being able to shower without planning around it. It's carrying groceries without worrying about your knees giving out. And sometimes, most importantly, it's knowing when to rest, breathe, and try again tomorrow. Strength, I've learned, is also emotional. It's not easy to admit you're slipping. It takes courage to start over in your 70s. But when you do, even 1 inch of progress feels like a mile. I never imagined feeling proud about completing simple stretches, or walking to the park bench without gripping the rail. But now I do. Because every little act of control is an act of freedom. Part 17, my routine now, and why I'll never go back. Today, my daily routine doesn't look heroic. I wake up and stretch. Do my squats. Walk around the block after breakfast. Sip my turmeric ginger tea mid-morning. Eat foods that reduce inflammation, not increase it. Rest when I need to. Move every hour. Sleep deeply. There's no magic. Just intention. No pills or surgeries. Just choices that add up. And now, I can help others too. My neighbor joined me for morning walks. My brother, who once scoffed at natural things, asked me for my smoothie recipe. We're not chasing youth. We're chasing peace. And I finally feel like my body is working with me, not against me. Part 18, a message for anyone just starting out. If you're sitting there wondering if change is possible. If you've tried before and failed. If you've accepted weakness as the new normal. Listen carefully. You don't need perfect motivation. You just need a spark. A reason. A memory. A desire. Start there. Start with 5 minutes. Start with food swaps. Start with hope. Because your body listens. It's waiting. It's still capable of healing, adapting, and thriving. I couldn't stand without help. Now I walk freely, move confidently, and live fully. And you can too.